and welcome to Archive Dive. I'm Maria Lockwood, a reporter with the Superior Telegram. Each month, we dip into files on historic events, people, and places in Superior and Douglas County with local historians. Today, we peek into the history of some green spaces in Superior. Wade Bowl, Ted Whereatt Field, and Ole Haugsrud Field were all named after men who left a mark on Superior. Who were they, and why do their names continue to live on? Helping us dive into the story today is local historian Teddy Moronic. Hi, Teddy.
Hi, Maria.
Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you.
So tell me a little bit about, back in the day, a lot of things got named after people, right?
Mm-hmm. Everything. Streets, buildings, athletic fields.
Athletic fields.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now, Wade Bowl, we don't think of as much as an athletic field, but it was once, right?
That's what its purpose was when it was built. It was built for a Central High School football team to play their games there. And it was named after their principal, Clifford Wade.
Clifford Wade.
Yeah, he started as principal at Central in 1913, and he died at his desk.
Oh, no.
In 1935. And so he had been promoting the idea of a football field exclusively for the Central football team. And apparently he taught trigonometry, not only being principal, but he taught trigonometry at Central.
Oh, my goodness.
And so one year he had his class go out and survey this Wade Bowl area.
Mm-hmm. It was just a green space.
Yeah.
And it wasn't.
For a proposed athletic field. And so that was one of their class assignments. And then Mr. Wade, he built like a little miniature football field down to the goalposts and a football after they had done this project. And so he was really involved in it, but he didn't live to see it.
Okay. So when did he start proposing the field and when was it built?
He proposed it about 7 years before. Well, he died in 35. And then it was built in 36.
And they named it after him.
They named it after him. Yeah. It was like, I don't know if they called it the Clifford Wade Memorial Field at that time, but it was named after him. And Mr. Wade is, when Kathy Locks and I were writing our Central book, I think he was the person I admired the most.
Why?
Because he was principal in some really tough times at Central, and his own personal, tragedies too. He lost his son a few years before he himself died, and his only son. But he was principal in 1927 when the school strike happened.
Oh, and that was when a teacher was
Fired,
and the kids went on strike.
They went on strike.
Tell me a little bit about how that came about.
Well, they got a new school superintendent, Mr. Spencer. Apparently, Mr. Spencer wasn't old school. Mr. Spencer was new school.
Okay.
And Lulu Dickinson, who was the teacher who was fired, was, set in her ways. And she thought this is how the school should be run. And Mr. Spencer did not believe that. And they had their differences. And he finally fired her. So the kids went out on strike.
All of them?
Yeah, pretty much. And then they convinced the kids at Cathedral and East to go out, but I don't think it was quite as widespread there. But and some of the kids would come back to school, and then they go out on strike again.
How long did this strike last, and what year was this?
This was 1927, so we're coming up on the 100th anniversary
of the strike.
Yes, and so Mr. Wade is in the middle of this.
Okay,
he's got the teachers on one side, and he's got the superintendent and the Board of Education on the other. And the Board of Education at that time was appointed by the mayor. They were not an elected body. They were appointed by the mayor. Mm-hmm. So he gets caught in the middle of this. And his only concern, this is why I love this man so much, his only concern was getting those kids graduated. That's all he cared about. He didn't want to be in the middle of this fight. He didn't take sides. He was like, my job is to get these kids graduated at the end of the year. And I can't imagine what kind of stress that must have put on him. He was fired once, I believe, but got his job back. But this whole thing, in the end, it turned out to be something good because after this happened, it was decided that the Board of Education would be decided by the voters of Superior, not, serve at the whim of the mayor.
Oh.
So that was the one good thing that happened.
In order to graduate the kids, did they stay in school longer than that?
No, Mr. Wade got him through.
Did he? How?
He did. By sheer willpower, I'm sure. They made it. And then the next year he had Calvin Coolidge to deal with.
Coming to the White House.
Yeah, it's a summer White House, so he's entering, their territory. And of course, they're taking precedent, even though it was in the summer. I'm sure there were things planned for that summer and that had to all be put to the side. But The people we're talking about today, they all went to school under Mr. Wade. All of them. Um, Ted Whereatt.
And Ole?
Ole was one of his students. Ernie Nevers was one of his students. It's amazing the number of people who became somewhat famous during that era that graduated from Central High School. But Mr. Wade was there to guide them. And so they decided that this football field that he had dreamed about would become a reality. And it was a joint sort of construction project. The city was involved. The school was involved. The WPA was involved. Everybody banded together to build it. And have you ever seen a picture of it when it was?
No, I haven't.
It was like an amphitheater. It was built into the ground.
Okay.
And it was huge. It must have been really interesting to go to a football game there, but that's where Central played their games until the municipal stadium was built on Belknap. But they played their high school football games there.
Wow.
So,
and now a lot of people know Wade Bowl as the park, but the stadium was the part right behind the Belknap Business Center.
Well, when you look, if you go by, I just went by.
Yes, did you?
Yeah, I had to drive by it again because I never paid that much attention to it. But you can see how it was tiered. If you look closely, you can see how they built this stadium.
Awesome.
Must have been pretty cold, though.
Probably, but they were out of the wind because it was dug
and it was
in.
close to Central, too. That was the other thing.
Right out the back.
Yeah, right out the back door. So, and I'm glad it's still called Wade Bowl.
Yes.
And I will be carrying a picket sign. I just want people to know this. If they ever decide to change the name, because you need to know about this man. They really do, to understand how dedicated he was to this town that wasn't his hometown, but how dedicated he was to that school and to the kids. And as I said, he did die at his desk. He was at work on the weekend. Graduation was coming up, and so he was helping build a platform. Even though he had had heart problems for a while, he died from a heart attack. He came in there that day, went to his office, sat down, and died. They held the funeral in the gymnasium. 2,500 people attended.
Wow.
And the kids who were graduating, they all wore their caps and gowns, and they stood like an honor guard around the casket, before the funeral. And they would change like every 15 minutes, so everybody got a chance to honor Mr. Wade that way.
They really
They really did like him, yeah. And so don't change the name of Wade Bowl ever.
Okay, so Wade Bowl lasted until the municipal stadium was built. And when did that happen?
That opened, I think it was 1959. That had been planned for a lot of years, too.
Okay. But people are more conversant with its name of Ole Haugsrud.
Right,
Field,
and that
right?
didn't happen until after Ole was dead, and that was in the 70s when, I think it was 76 maybe.
So for 20 plus years.
Yeah, it was just called the football field. When I was young or went to high school, we're going to the football field. And it wasn't Ole Haugsrud or anything, but Ole.
Okay, so tell me about Ole Haugsrud and why would they name a football field after him?
Well, Ole was another student of Mr. Wade. So he was part of this huge group. Those years are just unbelievable as far as Central High sports are concerned. So, they won a couple state championships, and amazing group of guys who played football there, which included, of course, Ted Whereatt and Ernie Nevers. So you've got some big names going on there. Ole Haugsrud said that he wasn't on the team, the starting lineup. He wasn't a starter. But he acted as he was like a training dummy for Ernie Nevers.
You can sack me. It's okay.
Right. So all these guys played together. And Morgan Murphy, who eventually would become the publisher of the Telegram, he played football all through high school. Gordon McQuarrie played.
But what was it about Ole that stood out and made them name a stadium after him?
Everybody liked Ole. He was quite a character, but he started the Duluth Eskimos.
Okay, that's a football team, right?
It was a football team in Duluth. If it wasn't for the Duluth Eskimos, there would not be a Minnesota Vikings today. There would not be an NFL today. If it wasn't really, the things I've been reading about it is the NFL was in dire straits at that time. This is like 1926, 1927. Attendance was dropping off. College football was the big thing. Well, Ole bought the Eskimos from the Kelly hardware people. They had been running this pro team in Duluth and weren't very successful at it. So Ole bought it from them. He loved football. He was living in Duluth at the time. He loved football, and he was going to make something of it. And the first thing he did was he went and he hired Ernie Nevers. He was supposed to play for, I think he was supposed to play for, the AFL, I believe, and he hadn't signed his contract yet. So Ole went down and said, why don't you come and play for the Eskimos? And he did. And the team was, I don't know, they were like entertainment across the country. They played 29 games. He traveled 17,000 miles that year because they only played one game at home. I think someone said, well, why would you want to play at that rickety old athletic field in Duluth when you could be playing at, Comiskey Park? Or they named some other places. So, I put them on a train. They went across the country, all over. And they had Ernie. I was reading about Ernie. He, unlike his classmates at Central, he did not go to the college here in town. He went to Stanford. I mean, this guy was good. So I read, I think it was when they were in the Rose Bowl, he played with 2 broken legs. Now, I don't know if I believe that.
That might be a little hyperbole there.
No, Kenny, I think I read that in the Duluth Tribune. I'm just saying.
2 broken legs.
2 broken legs. I don't know if that's true, but he was quite a guy, and I don't think he minded mixing it up either.
So he was like the big personality on the team, and folks started watching for that?
Yeah, he was. Well, he was so talented, too, and he was good looking on top of it.
Ooh, didn't hurt?
That didn't hurt. But yeah, he was somebody who drew people into the stadium. So
Ole was able to get him to sign because they knew each other.
They had played high school football at Central and Superior, so they knew each other. And he put together that team, the Duluth Eskimos, and they were an instant hit. But I mean, they traveled all over the United States. I read somewhere that they would wash their uniforms on the train and then hang them out the train window just so they would dry because they didn't stay in any place long enough to do any of this stuff.
Football has changed so much.
I know.
From those early days where it was really like hard scrabble. They had to just...
And you had to be tough. They're always fighting. Who else was on the team? Johnny Blood McNally. Guess he's a very well-known football player. Didn't mind mixing it up either, I guess. They're interesting games.
Did they ever play at the Superior Field?
No.
Okay.
But I'm just telling Minnesota, if it wasn't for these guys, if it wasn't for Ole Haugsrud, it's very true because Ole, I think he was it 1 or 2 years he had the Eskimos and then he sold it. And when he sold it, it came with a clause, so his sale. You're going to let me know if Minnesota is going to have another professional football team someday. And if they are, I get a part of it. So 1960 rolls around, the Vikings are formed. Ole brings out the paper and says...
He was part owner of the Vikings?
Yes, he had 10% share, I believe.
And the Vikings based their color scheme is very similar to Central, right?
Central, yeah. There wouldn't be a Vikings without Superior Central High School. Really, there wouldn't. You know the colors? Purple and white, the name Vikings.
Oh, that was the Central High School Vikings, right?
Yes. And then, of course, that first team has got Ole Haugsrud, who graduated from Central. So I really believe if it wasn't for Superior, Wisconsin, there wouldn't be any Minnesota Vikings. I don't want people to write me any letters or anything about this, but I've had that feeling for years. They did siphon off a lot of people from Superior.
And then there was Bud Grant, too.
Bud Grant
was from Central also.
And Doug Sutherland, who was one of the Purple People Eaters. Yes, we had a lot of talent here in Superior.
We did, and a lot of it ended up over in...
I know, so I think there's a curse on the team because I don't think they'll win a Super Bowl till they give Superior its credit.
We will see if you're right or not.
Yeah.
But Ole, because of all of his sports prowess and then his work with football, that's why he got the football field for him?
But it was after he died, and I felt bad about that. But he never made it to the Football Hall of Fame.
He didn't?
No, he's not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He's been nominated a couple times, but never made it. And it's sort of sad because a lot of people credit him with saving the National Football League. They really do. It was because of his work with the Eskimos that it survived.
Wow.
But he never made it to the Hall of Fame.
Okay. Do you think that the Ole Haugsrud Field area will continue to bear his name?
I don't think so. I don't imagine there's very many people left who, unless you're some weird librarian, who knows facts that nobody else cares about. But yeah, it would be nice though. I mean, he's a big name. He was. Yeah.
A big part of the history of
Big
Superior.
part of the history of Superior, yeah.
Now, speaking of big names in Superior, I don't know much about Ted Whereatt. Is he a big name in Superior, and how did he get a field named after him?
Well, this is how I found out about Ted Whereatt. One day I'm looking through the Telegram, which is my favorite thing to do. Old issues of the Telegram. Come across a front page story about Ted Whereatt being mistaken for Clark Gable. Well, that did it for me. I had to read this story. Ted Whereatt was an amazing athlete who played both basketball and football at Central. And then when he went to college here, again, he did that. Got his degree, went and taught school, came back and started coaching at college.
Was it the normal school?
It was, when he graduated, it was the normal school, but then it turned into Superior State Teachers College, SSTC. So he came back and he started teaching there. He also introduced boxing, and I read outdoor hockey. It must have been fun to be playing outdoor hockey in Superior. But he was coaching both football and basketball. And then one year, his football team got invited to go play in Kansas. So they were on a train. They took a train from the Twin Cities out to Kansas. Mm-hmm. They get on the train, and who's on there but Clark Gable? He had been hunting somewhere in Minnesota or Canada and ended up taking the train back to Hollywood. So the football team gets on, and they're in the same coach with Clark Gable.
Oh, wow.
And they spent the whole trip like talking to him. They said he was very interested in their football team, and he, wanted to know everything about what they were doing. He was not somebody who was promoting himself. Of course, everybody knew who Clark Gable was at that time. Mm-hmm. So in those days, and I remember this, my family took a train trip out to Washington State one year, and every station you stopped at, they stayed there long enough, like you could go out, get off, legs. Stretch your legs, something. So apparently Ted would do that. Ted Whereatt would do that, get off the train. And apparently there were girls across the country who knew Clark Gable was on that train. Mm-hmm. So they'd gather in the station and they'd see Ted Whereatt and they would go, "Oh, there he is." Well, I looked at the pictures. They had both of their pictures on the front page of the Telegram, Clark Gable's and Ted. Ted's a nice looking guy, but I don't think I'd mistake him for Clark Gable, but whatever. But the team was so funny about it. They said maybe they were going to have to call Jim Danhill, who was president of the college at that time, and say, maybe we better send Ted back because he could end up in Hollywood.
He's causing a commotion.
I know. I just thought that was a wonderful story. But they call his era of coaching at the college the golden era.
Why?
Because his teams won championships. It was an amazing era. I don't know if the college has ever matched those days, football and basketball-wise.
Was it because they could draw such good students or because they had such good coaches or just a combination?
Well, Ted was their only coach there for football and basketball. And, of course, his friends, he must have had an eye for people or
talent.
And a talent for managing high school and college football and basketball players because he got the best out of them. And then I think his tenure started there in 1930. And then during World War II, he joined service and he was gone for 4 years.
Wow.
And he came back. And once again, he goes to talk to Jim Danhill and says, "Do you think you could give me a $10 raise?" Mm-hmm. Jim Danhill says, "No, you don't have your PhD." Well, he didn't have it when he was coaching all these wonderful teams. Mm-hmm. And so then Ted left and he went to Indiana University and became like an assistant coach. And then he worked for the NCAA. He worked for the guy who was the head of that. Went to work for him for a while. But then after a couple of years, he went back to Indiana. He never came back to Superior.
He was
born. All of these guys were born in Superior, except for Mr. Wade. Mr. Wade wasn't born in Superior. But yeah, until Jim Danhill apparently turned him down for a $10 raise.
$10. What? I suppose that was a lot more back then. Yeah. It still wasn't that much more, was it?
No. Mm-hmm. I think being called up for the war had probably changed Ted too. And things had changed in those 4 years. The United States changed completely by the end of the war. Mm-hmm. We weren't the country we were before, after, and all those guys who experienced war. We're not going to be the same people who came back. Although Ted, I think, was teaching somewhere. Mm-hmm. He was not a real healthy person. He had a lot of stomach problems. He probably had ulcers or something, but I'm surprised he even let him in. I think he spent his time teaching.
Okay. Army, Navy, Air Force?
Navy.
Okay.
I think. Don't quote me on that.
And people may not be aware, where is Ted Whereatt Field?
It's down by Hawks and Ross Hall, near the parking lots back there. Now it says Yellow Jacket baseball on it. At one time, it had a Tony Jaworski sign as Ted Whereatt Field.
Oh, so Tony Jaworski.
He did it. Yes, Tony. If you needed a painting done in Superior, you call Tony.
One of those Jaworski brothers.
I know, all of them, yeah. So, yeah, it's funny, not too many people know about Ted Whereatt. And if I had not seen that story about, him being, oh, wow, looking like Clark Gable, I probably never would have noticed it. And, Gable was this was just right before Gone with the Wind. Missouri too, so he was a very popular star.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Didn't seem to have gone to Ted's head, though.
No, he looked confused in this picture I saw in the paper, like, what are they talking about?
And he didn't have to get sent home, right? He finished.
No, he went and they played in Pittsburgh, Kansas. That's where they played the game.
Pittsburgh, Kansas?
I know.
I didn't even know that was a place.
When I saw the word Pittsburgh, when I was reading through the story, I thought, oh, they went out to Pennsylvania. No, they went to Kansas.
Wild. So this really is kind of a football legacy with these three guys, right?
Yeah, it's a football legacy. It's a Central legacy. I think that's what it is. I attribute it more to Central High School. I don't know what they were doing there. I say that time after time after time. Superior is a small town.
Mm-hmm.
When you think how many people we have in halls of fame, really and truly, it is kind of amazing. And stars who, maybe they didn't make Hall of Fame, but they played professionally. People who did other things. Gordon McQuarrie. Gordon McQuarrie is a writer that people still read after all these years. So he has lasting power to another Central person,
Right. Something in the water.
I believe so.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Teddy.
Well, you're welcome.
And thank you for listening to Archive Dive. New episodes are available monthly at superiortelegram.com or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you have a topic you'd like us to explore, email me at mlockwood@superiortelegram.com.